Good morning from the shop. Dave here. Before I get started on making boxes this morning, I thought I would spend a little bit of time and talk to you about some of the things that are important to me in terms of equipment that I use in making boxes. Now, this will be different if you're making furniture or the Lord only knows what else you can sit and make in your workshop. But as a box maker, what are the things that are important to me? Now, these are things that not every woodworker is going to want, or beginning woodworkers may even be able to afford. I don't know what your particular situation is. So I thought, well, good, let's talk about the 5 tools that are important to me. So I sat down the other day and made a list, and I thought, let's stop at 5. And I just kept going, and I ended up stopping at like 13 or 14 things that are important to me. And it's really hard to prioritize what those things are because they're all important. But I will say, first off, from a safety standpoint, I'll give you my number one thing, and that's my SawStop table saw. Now, if you haven't had a chance to see what SawStop is all about, I encourage you to go out and get your little Google box and Google SawStop, and you will see how the technology that SawStop employs in their table saws allows that blade to stop in nanoseconds. They'll show you the demonstration about how it barely nicks the skin on a hot dog. And I'm sure there's some out there that show people actually touching that saw blade as it's spinning about 40,000 revolutions a minute and how that stops so quickly that it barely even nicks them. Now, I'm not going to do that because it destroys the brake and it also will probably destroy your saw blade. So you're looking at $150 to $250 every time that thing sets off. But stop and think about it. What's a trip to the emergency room going to cost you if you cut off the end of your finger or multiple fingers because you don't have SawStop technology? Now, that's just me. Now, what happened to me is my lovely wife, my bride of 53 years, told me many, many times, you should just go buy that SawStop. And I thought, oh gosh, that's awful expensive. And I got a really good table saw that I've had for 28 years, and it's served me very well. And I love that table saw. All my jigs are set up for that table saw, and I don't want to make that change. So on a Tuesday, I managed to get complacent, distracted. I don't know, wasn't concentrating on what I was doing. And I reached down to pick up a piece of offcut uh, that had kind of gotten in the way. And I dropped it. And when I went to reach for it again, I nipped the end of my finger off. Now, wasn't serious. Didn't have to go to the emergency room, put a bunch of band-aids on it and some antibiotic, and it stung like mad for quite a long period of time, I will admit. So that happened on a Tuesday. On a Wednesday, I went and bought a saw stop. So I sold that table saw, and the old one, got the new one. Loved the table saw. Perfect table saw. Absolutely wonderful. Couldn't do without it. Out of the box, magnificent piece of equipment. Happy that I got it. So, number one, table saw. Number two, and then now from there on, it's all just uh, things that, as a box maker, I couldn't do without. So I have a hard time prioritizing them. I will give you a tip on measuring devices. and the importance and the significance of using the same measuring device throughout your process. Now, I've had this particular steel ruler for a long, long time. And I use this one measuring device throughout my build process because there are so many inconsistencies amongst measuring devices from one manufacturer to another. 6 inches on one measuring device may be 64 and a 64th. May not seem like a lot. A 64th of an inch is nothing if you're a framing carpenter. It's a lot when you're doing precision work. So use the same measuring device throughout your process. And I don't care if it's a steel ruler, if it's a square, if it's a big square, if it's a small square, doesn't make any difference. Tape measure, use the same one. You'll at least have consistency in error throughout your entire process, and it makes life just so much easier. I love my router table and my router jigs for making box joints. For those of you who have seen some of my work before, I love making boxes and I make box joints. I love the way box joints all fit together. When you get your setup just right, it makes putting together your boxes just so much easier. So I've seen people make jigs. I tried to make a jig for my table saw before I bought my router table and my box joint jig, and I just couldn't get the consistency. Some people have great luck with that. I just couldn't do it at that particular point in my, call it a career making boxes. So I bought the box joint jig. Since then, once you get the setup done, everything works out just perfect. So setup of the box joint so much easier. It's made easier by using some really good quality setup blocks. This I bought from Rockler. By the way, Rockler doesn't sponsor me. I just happen to go there because I get good advice and I get good quality tools at a fair and consistent price. Plus, uh, as a member of the Minnesota Woodworkers Guild, you get a guild discount, or I get my military discount. So my measuring devices are important to me. Back over my shoulder here is another one of the things that I don't think I could do without. Because I'm out here all winter long in a sealed room, dust is a concern. I don't want to be breathing a lot of dust. I put enough junk in my lungs in the 73 plus years on the planet, and I don't need to put any more. So my air purifier that circulates the air and cleans the air 6 times an hour. So all of the dust that I create comes back around this way and gets cleared out. I clean that filter probably once a week, depending on what I'm doing. If I'm doing a lot of sanding, I'll oftentimes clean that filter multiple times during the week. So air filtration is really important to me. Good router bits. I buy good quality router bits. Stay away from those kits that you can buy at the big box stores. They're okay, and I do own a couple. One I bought because I needed a specific roundover bit, and buying the kit was just the most economical thing to do because I knew I wasn't gonna use it a lot. I generally buy my router bits. I buy 2 brands. I buy actually 3 brands. I buy 2 brands at Rockler. I buy Rockler bits when I can because Rockler has a lifetime guarantee on their bits. So if you wear it out, you just take the old one back and they give you a new one. Simple as that. You know, you can't beat a deal like that. They also sell Freud, which makes good quality bits. Sometimes they don't have the bit that I'm looking for at Rockler in Rockler's brand bit. It's all by Freud. The other bit that I've been buying lately is Whiteside, and Whiteside makes really good quality stuff. So I buy Whiteside, and uh, and I love their bits, sharp, so sharp that many times just touching that corner of that bit as I'm cleaning off my router table, uh, I put a lot of nicks in my fingers, and I can attest to the fact that they're really, really sharp. So, but stay away from those Chinese-made kits. Not great. Like I say, I do own a couple. One I bought for $1 at a garage sale. I thought, well, if I can get one use out of one bit, it's more than paid for itself for $1. So router bits, um, the air purifier, the router table. I've got other things that are on here that most beginning woodworkers wouldn't think about buying. My jointer, my planer, both those are really nice, expensive pieces of equipment, but have saved me time throughout my woodworking. And you can get by without some of them, and there are workarounds. I just happen to be fortunate enough to have, over the many years of doing this, accumulated a really good joiner and a really good planer. So those are really good. There are some other things that are important. Uh, Good sanders. I'll tell you, I learned a lot about sanding, and I thought that the best way to get a good quality finish was hand sanding, that final sanding. But I changed my technique, and I changed the actual discs that I use on my random orbital sander, and am achieving really great results with that. So good sanders. The other thing that's important to me as I get out in the shop here is my music. I put on music and I turn it up really loud, and I'll sit. Sometimes I actually sing. I only sing when the music's loud and when nobody else is around. So, but music is important to me. I've got clamps. My leather apron is important and offers a level of protection. I haven't had a kickback on my table saw, but I've seen other people who have. I'm very careful about how I position myself when I'm working on my tools. But in the odd chance that, again, I get distracted, not paying attention to what I'm doing, and I get kicked back on that saw, if that comes back and hits anywhere, having this nice thick leather apron is going to offer me some protection. So those are just some of the things that are important to me. I've got many more, and maybe I'll detail some of those later on. I think what I'll do next is maybe give you the top 5 tools that I spent money on, thinking that I would use them, need them, and it turns out that they're just sitting on a shelf collecting dust. Or the things that I'm doing, again, I'm making boxes. I'm not using in box making. I would probably use them if I was making furniture. So I may do some of those. Nothing wrong with those. I'm just not using them. So kind of money wasted. So that's it for today's video. I'm going to get back to working on the boxes. I have finished 88. I will get to 90 plus by the end of this week. I've got 4 that I'm working on. These are the poplar boxes. Because I got my setup right on my jointer, router, I thought I'm going to make some more. So I was digging through the wood pile and found some pieces that I'm going to put together. Zebra wood and walnut. I've got zebra wood and maple that I'm going to put together. I like the contrast in the wood, so I'm going to do some of those. I'll probably do some red oak. I've got a good supply of red oak And I may do some in red oak. Don't know. I'll figure it out. I got a lot of wood to go through. A lot of small pieces to make small boxes. A lot of big pieces to make medium-sized boxes. I may even make some bigger boxes. Who knows? That's it for today's video. Hope you guys have a good day, and we will catch you on the next one. Thanks a lot. Talk to you again.